Air conditioning. I'm glad you left it down.
It's Jeff.
Yeah,
I think there's.
For audio, why don't
Jack.
we?
Jack.
Okay. Really just gonna have. Okay, we're ready. Right.
Jack, Jeff.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order. Oh, and Beard. Yeah.
Great.
Okay. Hey, everybody. 3 of you online and Will, myself. So we have a full board. We just have one item, new business, continuation from our last meeting with some homework. So I'm going to turn it over
All
to
right,
the two of you.
so Jim and I scoured the region, I won't say the country, but the sort of New England region for used vehicles that closely matched our needs. And I was surprised that we did not find more. We did find a few, but a lot of them had significant high mileage, significant rust, et cetera, you know, to the point that they were not going to really meet our needs terribly well.
Or be a good investment for
Or-
the town.
Or be a good investment, yeah, exactly. But we did find one vehicle at Metro Ford in Schenectady, New York. I hope I said that.
It's connected.
Schenectady. Okay,
Close.
Close, thank you, thank you. I hope you spell it correctly. And if you would pass this down to Mike. Jeff got them these earlier. This is the listing from their website, the Carfax report. And then as Jim and I were talking and comparing the two of them, there are kind of 5 key differences, not enormous ones, but we should talk through each of them. And then the last sheet is just a quick price comparison. So they, okay, you know what, these are the trade-offs, this is the savings, and hopefully we can arrive at a rational, reasoned endpoint. So the used vehicle is low mileage. It's a 2020 Ford F550. It's listed with 34,095 miles. So that is low mileage. It is the selling, it's being sold by a dealership and by a Ford dealership. So they have recently replaced the brakes and done everything, and they are offering it with what they call a Ford Gold certified pre-owned warranty, which includes something like I think a 72-month warranty from the original in-service date. So since it's a 5-year-old truck, that would be another 2 years of warranty, which is, you know, pretty good. But you know, for point of comparison, a new vehicle would come with a 36-month warranty. So it's 24 versus 36. The body on this one is a steel body. If we bought new, the body that Jim had spec'd would be a stainless steel body, which, Jim, it's a little bit more resistant to rust. Can you kind of explain what?
Yeah, the rust resistance is a big thing right now because that's what every truck down there is running into. It's called rock salt for a reason. It just takes the paint off when we load the truck, so it starts rusting immediately. The stainless is a little bit tougher product, period. It'll take beating a little harder too. And it still has the hard ox floor, which is an abrasion resistant steel. Mm-hmm. This bed does have the abrasion resistant bottom, but it's just mild steel body with basic paint.
Yeah. We also there are also some trucks, or you can also buy aluminum bodies.
Right, where aluminum wouldn't be the best thing for us. First of all, like when you look at asphalt, the plant will be dropping 2 tons at a time from 12 feet in the air. So the aluminum body wouldn't stand up too well against that. And typically, the aluminum bodies can't hoist as much weight either when you dump them. So that's just not practical.
It's fine.
But they are very rust resistant, which is why,
Right, the Ford cab is all aluminum, and, even on the 2020 and 2025, they're all aluminum cabs, and they run, nickel cadmium brake lines and stuff like that, both models. So that's less of a problem. It's like the next best thing is stainless steel for brake lines.
and then I said additional weight capacity. Could you talk about
Yeah,
exactly how much more? and why
The
that-
one we spec went max GVW, max gross vehicle weight for that truck. And they spec'd it for us. The best they could offer was 19,500 pounds. This used one's only 18,000. So that 3/4 of a ton is equivalent to about a yard of sand. So the truck would have to make more trips back to the yard.
Salt. not sand.
Yes, right. It'd have to make more trips back, and it was pretty close. We legally only carry 6 yards on the big trucks because they're so heavy with the all-season bodies and whatnot. And this truck is capable, the way I expect it, was capable of carrying 4.25.
Yeah.
So it was pretty close to being able to do a full route without having to go back and refill. So it would end up sending us back mid-route to get reloaded. And the smaller truck counts on the extra weight on the heavy storms, which historically now over the past 7 years, we haven't had any. So it's kind of,
Knock on wood.
yeah.
And not to make light of that, but, both trucks would meet our needs 360 days out of the year, right? It really is just during those snow events.
And I just wanted to add, going back quite a few years, I mean, you guys might question the difference between buying a big truck, besides the price, versus the little truck, which, I mean, the big truck is 3 times as expensive.
Yeah.
We had that giant storm a few years back, most people I remember, where the town was only able to use 10-wheeler and a payloader plow. It was before I was here. I got home from I took care of condominiums back then. I get home, I talked to the town guys, and they said they were only capable to plow with 10-wheeler and the payloader. So I had the plow that we spec the truck for, the V plow, on my personal truck. And so I asked the guys, I go, if I punch a hole through on this road, can you plow it with a normal truck? So the little truck, mine was only an F350, not even a 550 with no sander. And I was able to plow the roads open, and the guys were able to go through the big truck. So I kind of did research this a little bit, and I talked to a couple of the other towns, Colchester, and I'm real tight with the guys in Ledyard. I used to work there, and they're running 3 of them now, and they're doing big truck routes on much tougher terrain than we're dealing with, because they are 4-wheel drive as opposed to the big trucks are only 2-wheel drive. So I'm super confident that these little trucks, we'd be able to use it all year round instead of just during the winter.
With the steel body versus the stainless steel body, can you treat the steel body so that it may last as long as the stainless steel
It'll
body?
never last that long.
Okay,
But it's automatically where all the cross members are welded underneath, the salt gets in there, splashing, etc. And within a year, easily, it's going to start expanding. You'll see rust bubbles. But I was telling David, the fire department brings their stuff now to New England undercoating, and they don't use typical rubber undercoating. What they do is they automatically sandblast the whole underside of the truck, and it's a lanolin-based wax, kind of like oily undercoating. You got to redo it every couple of years, but it actually creeps into everything.
right.
So you're
That's
not
what they
going
do
to
in New Hampshire too. They oil.
Yeah, and so what happens with the rubberized undercoat, like GM automatically void your warranty now if you use rubberized undercoat on their new trucks, because they want the wax, because it actually like self-healing.
Yeah.
But yeah. So we did kind of look into it. I didn't get a price, because this truck, the used one, I would definitely would want to bring there and have it done.
Mhm.
And Kevin, like I said, I talked to Kevin Esquire, but neither has had a chance to speak to each other yet.
Now, I was actually pretty excited when I called the dealer and asked if they would send us some pictures of the the underside, because they don't usually post those on the internet. And from what I could see, it looked like this truck had been undercoated.
Yeah.
I shared those same pictures with Jim,
Yeah.
and he said, "Oh, it's the rubberized undercoating."
Yeah.
And it's a little tough to tell from pictures, but it looked like in at least one spot, they might have applied the undercoating over some rust, which would sort of seal the moisture in. We just wouldn't know for sure what we're getting until we
Right.
took that undercoating off. And so, again, it's not necessarily an awful thing, it's just an unknown. It could be fine. So we kind of broke down the pricing. If we went new, the chassis under state contract would be $55,962. And then even though on the bid documents, they didn't break down the body versus the plow, Jim thinks that, based on his experience, that the plow would be about $14,000, and that would, by algebra, the dump body would then be just over 20,000. And so the new would be $90,061. If we went pre-owned, the chassis and the dump body, since it comes with it, would be $53,379. And
And
then,
these will be brand new, dump body and plow.
Right, on the new truck,
Could
yeah.
you,
yes,
for 90.
could you buy, I would think could you find a used, maybe not, you don't want to use dump body, but a used plow that would,
Not a good idea. Yeah, usually plows, they go bad pretty fast.
okay,
If you want to put a used one, you're gonna have a lot of issues right from the get-go.
mechanical or?
Yeah,
From
absolutely,
the,
and possibly hidden structural.
okay,
I mean, we go around, before we go back into servicing, right now, our mechanics already got our plows in the shop, and it's just July 1st.
yeah, and he's going through them,
Yeah, you find stress cracks and,
and then he has to weld them.
yeah, exactly, rebush them, all that.
Okay.
Yeah, so buying a used one, I mean, everybody seems to really know what they're worth. So you usually not setting up saving too much on that either. But the one we did go with, all the other small trucks that we have a Fisher plow, so we did go with Fisher, so if something happened, we can swap plows with another truck.
Mhm.
Just trying to be proactive, so there's less parts for us to keep in stock. And like if something happens during a storm, somebody can always trade out a plow.
so regardless of whether we do new or used, we would have a new plow.
Yeah.
On it, and that would, we estimate, be about $14,000. So the savings is $22,682, which is significant. A small amount of that would be eaten up because we'd have to send two guys to New York. By the time you drive up there, sign the paperwork, drive your truck back, it'd be a full day for two people. It's not an enormous cost, but it's also,
Right, and a portion will be eaten up by getting the undercoating
Yeah,
done
and I mean,
properly.
there's a huge chance that we may have to, we won't know until we actually set actual eyes on it.
Right.
But by the pictures, it looks like that we should probably send it and have it at 300, but just so it's, well, money well spent.
so thoughts, this is.
I mean, I appreciate the diligence that you guys have gone through, following up by, I had some questions on that, I think you've gone through the homework, you've looked at the market. I think, that's one part of my point last meeting. The other point was, the ink wasn't even dry on the letter that Michael had signed on the mill rate, and we were asking for another $100,000. So, I just ask in the future if these kinds of things come up after we're done with the budget, we kind of have to get that in our foreview before, as proactive instead of reactive. But I do appreciate the research that you guys have gone through. I know we've been texting. We came up with, we had an option for aluminum body for David. that would have, you know, I think presented some savings in line with what we have here. Do you have an idea of what, you mentioned the warranty from this dealership, what that would cover? As, compared to what the new warranty would be?
So since it is a certified pre-owned warranty through Ford,
Mhm.
it would be honored at, Monaco or, a local Ford dealership here, which is important.
Mhm.
And I have not read the fine print, but I think that those CPO warranties are very similar to a new car warranty. I mean,
Mhm.
I think.
Sometimes they're
it's-
better when they're certified, yeah.
Okay, I mean,
I've bought certified used vehicles before. And they're usually at least as good as a new car warranty.
I mean, I can check for you. I haven't read all the fine print, but I think that there is a high likelihood that it's basically bumper to bumper,
Mhm.
for 2 years
Mhm.
as opposed to 3, but that's
That's not
still,
bad.
that's really good, yeah.
Can you remind me again what's going on with the old vehicle? I forgot what, if we even asked that, if we even touched on that last time.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
What's the plan?
we're trying to decide the route to go on this. The dealer, it's at one of Freightliner of Hartford's smaller shops, their engine shop.
Yeah,
And the guy's gonna work up what it would cost to back the other switches ran.
yeah.
To actually get it so it's healthy again, it would probably be somewhere around $20,000 mark. But it would still need, it's got, we've gone over this truck before trying to find all the rust.
Yeah.
And when they pull the motor up, there's a cover in the engine compartment that they call it the doghouse. And when they pulled that out, you couldn't see without disassembling it. It's a significant amount of rot. So they're gonna come up with what they think it's worth, and we're gonna see what it costs to get it running, just running,
Mhm.
and versus properly.
So there's mechanical issues, there's structural issues.
Yeah.
Is it worth the juice to squeeze at this point, or?
Well, no, the motor that's in that truck inherently is a problem motor. We have another one in the fleet that, 6 months in, needed a motor when it was brand new.
Was it?
International.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's got the international motor in it. It's,
Where are you going for that Freightliner?
yeah, they're the only ones who bring it in.
Yeah.
The international dealer just changed hands so many times, they have like one tech. And anything we get done there is like 3 to 4 months period.
Do you know what it's worth as is?
That's
without
what
repairing
they're
it?
trying to help us come up with a
Okay.
price on.
But the plan would be to get whatever you could for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They-
because
yeah,
if somebody, we did a lot of work on the bed to make sure the bed was still up to spec. To keep it functioning right, we put a new chain for the sander and a new auger motor. We've done that 3 years ago now. So that they're still relatively fresh. Because we keep them adjusted, so the chains last a long time.
Right.
Is there any value in keeping it for parts?
We only have one other truck like it.
Yeah. Is this something that you go to like Copart for then? I mean, has this happened in the past in your history or your?
Well, with
tenure?
these big trucks, we would probably just put on an auction.
Yeah, Okay.
Has anyone tried to negotiate the price yet with the dealer, or is this the negotiated price?
Is that
with
the
the
price
dealer?
or is that?
So it's about $700 or $800 less than what was listed on the website. I did call, talk to them.
Yeah.
And, ask for their best price. That being said, I think if I were a dealer, I would be hesitant to sort of give someone my best price on the phone from,
Unseen.
out of state. So, especially if we were to go the used route, I think it would be wise for Jim and me to go, and I mean, Jim would be the one who actually looks at the truck,
Mhm.
especially the underbody,
Right, you
Have a
could
look
go
at
and
it.
say, I've been authorized to spend 50,000.
Yeah, well, and I think it's a very different, the pricing conversation is very different if you are sitting in their dealership,
Mhm.
earnestly saying, look, I'd like to buy this truck, but, I need you to take another $2,000 or $3,000 off.
So
So
there could be some movement there. It could be.
I mean, there absolutely could be. I think this is a relatively new arrival.
Yeah.
At least that's what they're claiming. So, you know, they may not be ready to yet, but I also don't get the feeling that the car market is super healthy right now.
No, it's not.
And so, you know, if they have the opportunity to move anything, they might be willing to work with us on price.
Yeah, the new one, that's state
Jack
change,
has a
right? So
question.
there's no negotiating.
Jack, you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify a couple of those differences. If you were still working on the pricing conversation, I just wanted to clarify a couple other differences we talked about. But bottom line price was about $23,000 difference. Is that what I heard?
Yeah,
Give or take.
Yes.
And then 2-year warranty on the used versus 3-year on the new.
Yep.
And then was that like 1 yard less of salt it could carry?
Yeah, exactly, about a yard.
And then, you know, what does that turn into? Like it would need to take one more trip back or two more, you know, what does that like turn into over the course of a medium snowstorm?
Yeah, on a typical route, it'd be one trip back during its tour through the route. Every truck gets like 10 miles each way, so about 20 miles of road.
Okay.
It would end up going back. Every route takes the smaller trucks. I try to keep on a slightly smaller route, so they're like 3 hours. But so it would probably add another half hour, 45 minutes of a route.
Okay. And then I know it doesn't sound like we like quoted out the, you know, underbody work or other things that may need to be put into it, but like, are we looking at hundreds, 1,000, multiple thousands? Like what
I believe,
ballpark would that be in?
speaking with Kevin Asparks, he's had this done on some fire apparatus. I believe it was like $1,200 to $1,500.
every 2 years.
Yeah, no, well, once it's done the first time, it's just a matter of respraying it. It's just getting the rust off it initially.
Okay. So that's the full
Yeah, yep.
job.
And then actually, once it's done initially, the recoat is something we can do.
Yeah.
But the initial one, they have to actually blast off the old rubberized
Okay.
undercoat.
But if we bought the new one, they would still have to do the initial application, but there would be nothing to blast off.
Correct.
Where do you go for that? Body shop or?
There's a place, that place that like the fire department's been using, and Kevin loves them, it's New England Undercoat in East Hartford.
Okay.
But, just about, I mean, Danny used to do it down in Northeast, but he didn't do the blasting part. There's a place in Manchester I stopped into last year and talked to, Master Blaster. They do it, they blast it
Okay.
quick and do it. There's a bunch of places.
Okay.
But they all use that familiar product like fluid film or New Hampshire oil or.
Good work.
Any other, Beard or Jeff or Jack, do you have any other questions or comments?
I think this is Jeff. I think we would just have to, and I think this is what we're going to try and do, is figure out whether roughly the $20,000 savings. I know it's a little bit more than that, but it sounds like it would eat up to around 20,000. Is worth the 5 years used, and it could have been, you know, used and abused kind of thing for the used truck versus just getting a new one where you know what you're going to be putting into it and what you're going to be you know, it's new, so you're going to be using it a new truck. So that's my thought.
Yeah, I kind of agree, and I apologize. I can't get my camera to work for some reason. Yeah, my sentiment is I question whether or not that savings is worth the potential risk, you know, of getting a used vehicle, especially considering the heavy use that the town is looking to put it through. You know, I'm certainly not an expert. That's just kind of where my gut reaction is leaning based upon what we're hearing here. I do want to say I appreciate how much research you folks put into this, because I think this is really good information to have, especially going forward if we have to do this kind of thing again.
Well, I'd be interested, since this is a little bit your, you know, wheelhouse. It sounds like where how where you're
Yeah.
standing, versus where you were, at the last meeting with when the initial presentation came through.
Well, it looks like David, provided us a Carfax on the VIN here. Carfax looks clean on it. And yeah, in my area of, we do this all the time. We have yard horses that I'm not sure if you're familiar with them.
What is a yard horse?
They move trailers up and down. So yeah, I get the hesitancy. It's for sure. It's a real concern. I think in this area, we don't care what it looks like. We just want it to work, right? We don't care what it looks like. This is a low mileage vehicle, 34,000 miles. That's really low. And this looks like a really good price for that type of vehicle. But then again, we haven't seen the vehicle yet.
Right.
In those capacity trucks, we look all up and down the United States for used vehicles, and we'll find things that are like 6 or 7 years old. They look great and they run great. The warranty that you found on it that's a nice warranty. What is it, 72 months?
That was
I
the
can check
original.
what their goal is, but I think it is 72 from the original.
72 months.
service date.
Yeah, I mean, that's more than enough time to, it's not like a 60-day warranty, right? Where you have
If something is
like
gonna go
0.9.
wrong, it's gonna.
Yeah, so
Go
72 months, that's a pretty good warranty on this truck. So I admire the work that you did, David. I know, again, I said we were texting back and forth. We had a outfit that was aluminum body that would have presented, I think, some substantial savings too. I get it, for the work that you guys do.
Yeah, like I said, we
It's
set
not
a
gonna
catch
work.
basin top where I was just gonna
Yeah.
bend it.
Yeah, so it's 100% overkill. But if this is 22 saving, that's some material savings. So that's my 2 cents.
Did you ask them what the truck, like, do they know what it was used for, where it came from?
So, if the Carfax says that it was bought in Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
It was commercial. I don't know
Yeah.
exactly what the business was. But when I did talk to the dealership, he said that, in order to match the rest of his fleet, the first owner had it wrapped. Because he wanted
Yeah.
it to, all of his other trucks were gray or something like that. So he paid to have it wrapped, which is why, now they've removed that, but that's why the paint looks as good as it does.
Yeah,
And then.
yeah, the paint looks great.
And then, he did say, he took some pictures and both Jim and I have looked at them. I'm happy to share them with you, but they wouldn't have come out very well, to print them. But the underbody has been coated, but it is that, the rubberized stuff that, is probably better than nothing. But I would like, if we choose to go this route, I would like Jim to see it in person.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
And then along those lines, in terms of like timeline and logistics, so there was some level of urgency about having this discussion. That's why we're having a special meeting. Where does that leave us with timeline if we need to go out, look at it? The answer is actually we don't think this is a viable option. How obstructive is that process to, the fact that we do need a truck?
Great questions. If we want to advertise the town meeting in the River East, the deadline is tomorrow because of the holiday on Friday. The deadline is earlier than usual. It's tomorrow at either 10 a.m. or noon. So what we could do is you could even make 2 recommendations to town meeting.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
could we do a recommendation of a purchase of a vehicle up to $90,000 or 91,000 or whatever?
Okay, and
That gives you the
then-
flexibility, then, maybe
Jim and I could go take a
You
look
could go
at
take a
it.
look at it next week before the town meeting, and then at the town meeting, you can make your proposal for which vehicle.
Would you feel comfortable with that?
Hmm.
I mean, that would mean that we wouldn't have to slow down too much. But
What do you
it's a
think?
great point, Jack.
What do you think, Jack?
I mean, I think that makes sense. I would just
Oh, can you
Not-
check that?
not that I think
Jeff
you know,
Trapp, can you let him back in?
I'll let Jeff get back in.
There we go.
I think from a logistics standpoint, I think that makes sense. I guess my question is my concern is if you, as when you go see the truck, feel like that's potentially a viable option, but you know, we need to discuss, you know, you want to talk price more or anything like that. I don't, yeah, I guess, let me start over. What would be the timeline? So the River East insert needs to be in by tomorrow for a town meeting on which date?
Well, if it's published on Friday, the charter says that there have to be 5 days before the town meeting. So that would be Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I guess we could have the town meeting as soon as Thursday, or we could also bump it until early the following week.
And then when you go out to look at it, I'm assuming that would also be the time to further discuss pricing as appropriate.
Yes.
All right. I mean, I feel like I'm kind of good with, I know there hasn't been a formal motion yet, but I think what, you know, Mike laid out, I think is good with the understanding that if the used vehicle is deemed a serviceable option by Jim and David, that would be the preference. I think is kind of what it sounds like, at least in my opinion.
This vehicle still
I
for sale?
concur. I think this is a good compromise that maintains the flexibility.
If someone comes in and buys it,
Yeah.
he's not gonna hold it for
I mean,
us.
it's been there since May 1st, so.
Well, and if
Yeah.
the market were a
Make a
little
motion,
hotter, I
yeah.
would be more concerned, but I
Yeah,
don't, I mean, it is a risk that we take, but I don't necessarily see
Yeah.
it moving really fast.
Yeah.
Sure, another town has Will Guzman telling them to go find a used vehicle, but maybe we'll beat them to it.
for Dave Porter. Yeah.
I mean, all tomorrow they say, no, it's sold, then I guess we're,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, we're covered either way. I'm sorry, Barry, go ahead. I know you're.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. It's hard to hear sometimes who's talking. I was just saying I think it's a good compromise to authorize I believe you said up to 91,000. That gives them the flexibility to move forward and see if this is a viable option. And if not, they have a good, you know, fallback position. So it seems like a smart move to me.
Yeah, how do you feel?
Yeah, like I say,
Worth looking at? Is-
Yeah, I mean, I just know we need to look at it before we go anywhere with it, because I don't trust the pictures and
Buying sight unseen is not wise.
no.
Yeah,
Yeah, it appears to me that they could have been hiding something at the end of the job or,
bring your screwdriver.
yeah, right. So, yeah,
And
I
then in
look at it, that way you can tell how it was actually used, what kind of company, I mean, was it used by a landscape company to haul mulch?
Right,
Or was it used by a sidewalk contractor that hauled huge chunks of concrete?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Did the pictures outline the body at all, or the chassis, like the truck, the bed?
Yeah, somewhat.
How did it look?
In the picture, it looked okay, but like I
Yeah.
said, in the pictures, paint, hide stuff.
There was some rust on the back of the bed.
I'm actually pulling it up right now.
A lot less rust than most of the other trucks we looked at, but there still was.
Yeah, right, it is still a truck from New England.
Yeah, it's still there. It's still online, so.
Okay, so as of now, it is still available.
Ooh. There you go. Want to see it? Yeah. Yes.
But yeah, you can sand that.
Yeah.
and Repaint it. Okay,
Okay.
If you want to see the other pictures that he sent me, yeah.
The interior looks clean. Leather.
probably heated.
Yeah.
I
There you go.
am confident that they are not.
Really? You don't get heated?
Hey, look, it's a
Seat
5-year truck. It's got 34,000 miles. And the most important thing is the engine okay? Is the drivetrain, the suspension, all that check out? And 5-year truck, it's a $25,000 or $22,000 savings at the end of the day. So, look, I appreciate the work that you did looking into it. I think there were some questions that I had. You answered them. So.
And I want to, the final question here, just to due diligence, about how many miles per year do we put on a truck like this?
Honestly, it's not so many miles, it's the hours.
Yeah.
We put a lot more hours. All the trucks for the safety equipment to be functional, they have to be running. So for strobe lights, etc. I mean, I don't know how many countless hours during a snowstorm we spend sitting in a tree across the road with the truck idling. Or we're doing a catch basin. I mean, the truck would sit there for 8 hours idle and put like 3 miles on.
Yeah.
So it's all in the hours.
Okay.
It's a good deal though. Okay.
Okay. So if there's no other questions, then I'm going to make a recommendation for the town to bring a truck purchase to town meeting with a purchase price up to $91,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay. Great. And go on to the next. Any public comment?
What is the lifespan of a proposed F-550 truck versus the current larger models that we have?
The larger models we're getting about 12 years out of. Yeah, and this one 8 to 10. And it's probably because, even though we use them more, it's probably because they stay more active that we're getting that many miles out of them. And I suggested the gas motor over the diesel because that was like, well, first of all, it's a $10,000 savings going the gas motor. And we're finding that the diesel motor lasts a lot longer than the truck does. And maintenance though is much higher in a diesel motor. And it's really biting us in the butt now because they spent so much time playing on with the new emission systems they have on them. The emission systems start to fail, and then that ends up costing them money. We have 2 older ones, F450s, and the diesel emission systems we're playing havoc with us right now because of all the idle time.
The gas is gonna.
So yeah, and well, price wise, gas costs less now anyway.
So, I asked this question before, last meeting, how many vehicles do we have in our fleet? And what's the cycle? What's the funnel look like?
Well, what we did is when I started, this 4 years ago, they were getting 10 years out of the trucks or so. And then we came up with a program where we're able to extend them by a couple of years by having a company come and sandblast the beds, replace sheet metal, replace hoses, etc. Because a lot of the trucks were originally spec'd with mild steel hydraulic lines, etc. So we upgrade everything to stainless ourselves. And then as new trucks, like since I've been here, we have 1 new truck that was spec'd entirely with stainless steel, and you would swear the truck just showed up. So it's been here for 3 years now, and it looks brand new still. And we've been playing with fluid film ourselves to keep the rust away. I bought the guys the setup of the power washers so they can wash under the trucks after every storm. Which we try to wash from every storm. I mean, the storm ends on a Friday night at 2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, the guys are pretty beat. It's probably not gonna get washed till Monday.
But how many? I think.
Oh,
yeah,
yes,
how many trucks do we
many
have?
fleets do we currently have? What's the
Currently,
next
right
one
now,
down?
we have 2 F450s.
Yep.
And 2 F350s. We do plow with one of the F350s, the 2 F450s. And then we have, 10-wheeler and, six-wheelers.
And what's the feeling there in terms of their longevity? Good shape here, or are we gonna be doing this again?
We're gonna be having to do something again in the relatively near future. One of the F-450s is, it's gonna be need replaced.
You need body work on it, or what is it?
It needs floors.
Yeah,
They're pretty bad, and it keeps going to the shop for ridiculous things, but ridiculous things still cost a couple grand at the shop. So it's kind of getting to the pointless part. And then we just put a brand new motor in our oldest truck. And we're just keeping up on it, keeping it together nice. We went to the fab shop and had panels made, so we can cut out the holes, put the ones on, they're shaped exactly the same.
Yeah.
We've kind of
try to,
streamlined, yeah, this is where I came from before. I took care of 110 fleet vehicles. And we just kind of came up with a system there, and I brought it with me here. And it seems to be working.
okay. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Okay. Any other public comment? If not, then I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
Good night.